on your Twitter, you said you are both an engineer and a journalist. That's a fantastic combination. Tell us a bit more about yourself.
I still view myself as an activist, right? Or hacktivist. So people use technology or hacking technology to do whatever, do something that they think going to benefit society, going to change the society into the next phase. I think that's my definition of activist, and it usually connected to social movements, right? And I think crypto or Web3 is definitely a social movement. Besides, I view myself as an activist. I was indeed an engineer and a journalist. I'm still an engineer myself. Do less coding, but still, hunt over on hang out and go GitHub pretty much every day. That's I think that's my background. And engineering, it's a important tool and it's a weapon in the future of the cyberspace. So as crypto, not only cryptocurrency in general, cryptographic technology, that's a weapon in the cyberspace. Journalism is a weapon to explore the secret and tell the secret to the public. I think that's the fundamental spirits of things like DAO, right? Without open information, there could not be DAO. I was both. I was engineer since my high school, and then graduate and study. Actually, study and drop out in computer engineering stuff. I was journalist. I was kind of famous in independent journalism, cover story for all big media, not only in China but also in Japan, in state. I think there's still a lot of media covering my story, and a lot of things I contribute. You can search Suji and Bloomberg, Suji and Caixin, Suji and South China Morning Post. You probably can see my articles or story about me. That's my background, and that's definitely have a strong impact, leading me to the current direction I'm working with, right? The open web, the Web3. Yeah.
What made you make the decision to drop out, and what made you to get all in crypto?
Yeah. So I think in my opinion, college education don't really provide too much information I need, right? It's cool, but don't really it's not really that helpful. And also when I was in UFI, I was 2014 I started my undergrad program in UFI UIUC. And in 2016 there's a joint program between UFI and the U of Tokyo. I spent around 1 year in Japan in the U of Tokyo. So during my time at both places, and during my time traveling around from the east and west, I met many interesting people, right? Including people working for the Thiel Foundation, and they mentioned me that few years ago, 2 years ago, there's several cool kids applied this Thiel Foundation Thiel Fellowship, and they drop out, and one of the applicants who applied for a Thiel Fellowship and drop out in 2013 is Vitalik Buterin, right? He's born in 1994. I was born in 1996, so he's 2 years older than me. So I heard his story from some guy from the Thiel Foundation. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a cool idea. Ends up I still have connection with the Thiel Foundation people. I didn't really seriously apply for a fellowship. I think no matter I win or not, I should try something I want to do, right? In 2017, there's many experimental idea in my head, right? So the future of social network, the next generation internet, token launch, coin offering was really hype in 2017. I definitely learned a lot. So I personally own some Ethereum before that, right? I think, oh, that's a cool idea. I'm taking a lot of deep look into that, into that rabbit hole. And then I decided to completely drop off from the college and focus on the thing what I'm working on right now, mass network. We started business in early 2018 and get funding in January 2018. That's the first funding. We already had the idea. I already have idea in 2017, even before. I'm not a typical good student type. even back in college. During my 2-3 year study at the university, I was mainly doing a lot of strange stuff, right? A lot of weird stuff. 2016, when I was at the U of Tokyo, they have like a student program at the University of Tokyo. I think the major achievement is not really I wrote a paper or whatever. Its major achievement is I partnered with the Taixing Media, which is a leading media in Beijing. It's really being respected by this industry. So I partnered with them, and I lead a small team to actually get into the Fukushima nuclear plant. So the Fukushima nuclear plant in 2016, it's 5 years after the earthquake, and it's definitely a corrupted place, right? The local government is super corrupted. They hide all the numbers, and they want you to know, what's going on with nuclear plant. They want you to know what's going on with with all the problems they created 5 years ago, and it's all secrets and secrets and secrets. Definitely you cannot public that easily, right? And we apply through through my connection, through my friend's connection in Japan, through our connection in the state. We apply through NGO channel, and ends up we are permitted to, we're licensed and permitted to get into the Fukushima nuclear plant. Well, not really all of it, but really some important area of this restricted area. We took videos, and we make that smart like short documentaries, and provide that to global leading media. I was an independent journalist. I was never I was paid journalist, but I was never taking this thing for my salary, because I already earned some money from other business. But I think this is quite important. And that's also one of the reasons I start to think more about Web3, right? When you realize the one of the most developed country like Japan, and one of the most innovative area, nuclear power, right? Nuclear power area got so many secrets and dirty works and corruptive things happen. It's pretty much everything, like everywhere in the world, right? So pretty much everywhere in the world they got secrets. And social network is a huge black box. So I'm not surprised when I saw the news, like there's intervene from Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook into the U.S. elections. I'm not super surprised. I think this is gonna happen sooner or later. So in 2018 we got this idea, and take us for 3 years to fully deliver this idea, and then 2021 to finally decentralize that through a decentralized token and DAO management. But it's still early, honestly. It's still early, but it's really our story. Yeah.
You decided to get all in crypto since 2017. What has surprised you the most?
Personally, I think I'm really surprised that this industry or this field is a quite attractive place that combine from both people who are really innovative and super long term, and also really want to achieve the independence of cyber world, right? The network society, the network state, and also people who are just making quick money, those like speculator. I think that's a beautiful part of it. In other words, I think I'm entering into the cyber capitalism, the cyber capitalism, the Web 3.0 capitalism, which never existed before the invention of these public blockchain and all these infrastructure. Because I was born in 1996, so my first PC around Windows 95. So that's thing actually 1 year elder than me, right? So that PC is 1 year older than me. So I think I was born in the digital age. I started to use like computer when I was like 1 year old, something, right? And I pretty much know everything happened since. Remember, a lot of things happened since like 1998, 1999. I started to have memories, right? I still remember like all these bubbles and all these interesting things. And what's really in crypto space is the first ever space. I think maybe the early internet is pretty much the same thing, but I think for now it's the first space that we really have all these group of people combined and mixed up together. Interesting, and it's definitely the early cyber capitalism is definitely early something that's going to fundamentally change the feudalism Web 2.0. So that's the most interesting part to me. So even in the really bearish market, I'm really like, yeah, let's just 2-3 year, 4-5 year, maybe we can just wait. We can just build and wait, yeah, and yeah, because you see the fundamentals, right? Yeah,
definitely we can get through it. You use the term capitalism. Would you elaborate a bit on it?
Yeah. So this is my personal opinion. I've been telling a lot of people. I believe a lot of our friends may wrote articles to elaborate some parts of this idea. And this idea is originated from many from both left wing and right wing economists and philosopher. So I think, in my opinion, Web 2.0 is feudalism, right? It's like medieval feudalism. What I mean feudalism is you have king, you have kingdom, you have landlord, right? You have might, that is people with power to do some bad things to the farmers and control them. In the Web 2.0, Twitter is a kingdom, Facebook is a kingdom, and definitely WeChat is another kingdom. You have different kings. And the laborers, the farmers, the cyber farmers, they're farming data, right? They're creating data, and then something those huge construction digital machine can eat. Well, it's probably data. And you're not allowed to freely migrate, right? So I want to migrate from Twitter empire to Twitter kingdom to Facebook kingdom. Well, I do migrate some of my account, right? Email, maybe just email and some like nickname ID. I cannot migrate my house, which is like my asset, my tweets and my data, and maybe my NFT. You cannot do that. Before this blockchain space, it's definitely very, very much like the medieval feudalism. And tech journalists even create a word, create a terminology. I think pretty much elaborate this idea and prove my thoughts. They call this thing like a war garden, right? So it's a war garden. This is a soft word. It's a really soft word. It's the better way is this is definitely medieval, feudalism in Web 2.0. And in Max Zuckerberg, he's a king, right? He's a king, control kingdom, and an engineer like us, right? Or engineer work for a large company. They become those. In Japanese, you can use samurai, right? In knight, whatever. The people with the weapon skill, right? Coding is a skill. Programming is also a skill, but it's also a weapon because you can control other people's life easily. You can say, hey, my food delivery guy, my Uber Eat guy, should go this routine because we designed this algorithm to tell this guy to turn left and turn right. So we control their life. But we don't really control our life. Our algorithm control these low-class people, relatively low-class people's life. So it turns those programmer engineers into the people like samurai, right? You have the power, you have the sword, but don't fight for yourself. You actually enslave people, right? Enslave digital farmers. And when you look back into the history, what really happened in Europe after the medieval society, I mean, take many years, but in the end, it comes to the modern capitalism and its early form of nation state that people think like, yeah, okay, why should I do that, right? There's a new class rising. It's called capitalism, capitalist. Rising in the Europe after 1,000 years of medieval Europe, right? But in the cyber world, this history is much more accelerated, right? There's terminology we can describe later called accelerism, right? This history is much more accelerated. This process is much more accelerated. It's only take around 30 years, right? The Web 2.0 emerged around 2000, right? 2004, 2008. Maybe someone may argue it's after iPhone. It only take 20 years for this process to reach its final stage. But I really agree we are living in a digital kingdom, cyber kingdom ruled by the king, the CEO, or a board member of the company, and maybe the local government who collaborate with the company. And we want to have some migration freedom to migrate our asset and our data. It is the early version of cyber capitalism. And in blockchain and Web3 and cryptocurrency, creating the necessary tools and infrastructure to help people reach this early stage of capitalism and brings the free market. The free market beyond the control of nation state, beyond control of like custom board protection, right? Beyond control of the CBP and any like nation state. And the bits can not only carry information but also carry value. So it is the in my opinion, it is so-called cyber capitalism. Web 3.0 is the early stage. It started as the cyber capitalism. It may ends up become the cyber democratic socialism, hopefully, right? That have like a more humane, maybe have a better society form. But it's really interesting. This is what I believe, and what I was trained as a journalist. I see all these facts, and I think I should to convey this message to people. So I talked to many folks about this. Some of them are friends. They wrote some articles regarding different aspects. So if we think about this cyber capitalism, you're going to have a new cyber gold, right? Bitcoin, and you have a new cyber marketplace, free marketplace to conduct transactions. So maybe a phrase is transaction about token. So we have DEX, we have DeFi, we have Ethereum. Then later on, maybe our transaction about cultural product, right? We don't need Hollywood, we don't need Netflix. We just want to buy my lovely idols NFT. So well, it's destroying nation state owned Hollywood, or reforming their industry and reforming their creative process. Right, so that's why we're seeing the booming of the NFT, and we need a new forum, a new way to gather people instead of like the king yell to the people, push notifications, say, hey, you know, I'm the king of kingdom Facebook, and please gather here. Just tell you a fact that Donald Trump is banned. You need a new way to gather people in this new cyberspace. That's called DAO, right? And that's going to eventually emerge with all these other major innovating stuff and become a Web3 social network, and Mask want to be the fundamental of the Web3 social network. And when we started this, there's pretty much no one doing so, right? There's pretty much no one doing the Web3 social, and we start from the encryption, then we add this DeFi compatibility, we add this NFT compatibility, we add many aspects on top of it. But in the end, I think like that's the Web3 social going to be emerged from. And I also believe this is also what I learned from history, the non-cyberspace, the physical history we're living right now. If you really read history of the medieval of the Europe, right, of the Japan, of China, and if you read history of every major feudalism society, and you're going to realize that capitalism never replaced the whole society. They largely upgrade and reform and revolutionize the ruling class, right? And didn't really destroy the fundamentals. So it's probably much the same thing. We will never see people move out from Twitter and Facebook. People are going to stay there forever, maybe for a super long time, but the value is going to be not accumulated and acquired by these platforms. It will be reaccumulated by those protocols and owned by the people themselves, right? So that's the core value of Mask. When I send you a message encryptedly, when I send you cryptocurrencies through Mask over top of Twitter, the platform don't own anything. You own the asset, you own the information, right? That's our aspect. So we don't want to build a completely new Twitter, which is, I think, in my opinion, very hard.
When people are using Mask, logging with their Twitter account, they own their own data and information. How did you make that happen?
Yeah, we don't use any API from centralized platform. So I think there's many other attempts before. I say, hey, you log in with the Twitter ID and Twitter API, and Twitter itself is really friendly in Web3. It's doing a lot of experiments, but I think like as a company, they do have board membership, or they can allow you to infinity say, like they cannot allow you to do this whole time, right? Say, hey, like grab our data and use our API. So the way we are doing this is we are using this through pure web technology, like web browser, let's say Chrome extension or advanced JavaScript technologies, right? So it's like MetaMask. So MetaMask never communicate to server instead of besides RPC nodes, right? But it feels like, hey, when the MetaMask inject some code web3.js into the website, it changed the DOM, the website, into something, the information only belong to you, right? Your DeFi saving numbers, etc., your NFT galleries, even though the only connection is to the Web3 RPC node. So we're pretty much doing the similar thing. I think MetaMask did a really great job. We're actually partnering with them for a few years. They did a great job on the mass adoption of wallets. And what I'll do is, just add a layer on top of Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere, Reddit, and you will automatically upgrade yourself from Web2 to Web3. And there's no server involved, there's no API involved, so you don't need to worry about get banned by the major platforms. And we don't even have a server, so it's a really decentralized, robust infrastructure. Yeah.
So you guys don't have servers, and who are running the nodes behind?
It's all peer-to-peer, right? Every extension, every application, when you open the app, it's a peer-to-peer network. Yeah.
As you said, like Facebook, Twitter, they are like the kingdom of the Web2 world. And now they also see the threat from Web3. So they are also embracing Web3. And Twitter just launched the feature of NFT profile picture. So how do you see these potential competitions?
I don't think they're going to be challenged. I think there are going to be similar products. So we launched this thing a few months earlier than Twitter. And I want to mention that 2019, when Jack Dorsey, founder and previous CEO of Twitter, when he want to start this Blue Sky decentralized social protocol experiment, which is Twitter as the founding the sole founder of this NGO or experimental organization. There's 8 or 9 founding partners, founding members. The Mask is one of the founding members since 2019, late 2019. So we are already in conversation with all these people for years. And I think they are doing a great job. They're really doing a lot of amazing job, and we're giving their feedbacks and their thoughts. So Mask is we're in conversation with all these people you mentioned. There's even like more interesting thing happened in our ecosystem. So Mask Network, we help and invested in a company called Send. So in last year around March, Twitter CEO Jeff Dorsey, he sold his first tweet as an NFT, right? And it's through the Send platform, which is built on Polygon and Mask and all these technologies. Someone purchased this NFT for $3 million. So that's really interesting. I think it's also really something people underestimate the value. That because if the Twitter CEO start to sell his tweets as personal asset, right? What's the thing that left at Twitter, right? What's the thing left at this platform? That's really interesting, and we see a lot of experiments like that happening. So I just say like we're not competing. They're really friendly and they're really cool, but there's many other things they cannot do, basically due to the regulation and basically due to the fact that they still have server, and also their size, they're going to require a server. But I don't think they're going to capture more value when the Web3 thrive, when the Web3 grow larger and larger. I personally have a lot of like respect to founder of Twitter, Jeff Dorsey, and other like cool member who believe in Web3. But I think it's not competing, and it's quite early to say that. Yeah.
It looks like on Web3, the users will own the data and information. Then what's the incentive for the company? I'm not necessarily saying Musk, but for all Web3 social platforms, like how do these companies or projects or DAOs make money out of it?
Yeah, so Ethereum is eventually going to be a DAO, right? And ENS, like Ethereum name service, Gitcoin, it's all our good friends and partners and OG members of the community. They all going to be a DAO. I think like for now, those DAOs are really hard to capture positive cash flow, or they are on purpose not to capture positive cash flow. There are many things we can capture cash flow even on the mass perspective, but we decided not to. We want to just focus on user growth. And be very honest, unfortunately, right now, not if you think about DeFi, NFT, even social network like Mask or domain system like ENS, it's really small. It's like maybe at most 100K user, 50K namespace. That's pretty much the upside right now. And I think it's more important to say, hey, we just try to bring another like 100 million or billion people board Web3. And that process definitely require a lot of work from the mass perspective, from the mass network. And we'll also not really say we're gonna compromise on the decentralization, because once you compromise on the decentralization, it's not gonna likely you're gonna turn your back. It's likely you're gonna just say, oh, it's really easy. We're gonna be more centralized, and then you're gonna have responsibility. It's gonna be a tough problem. So Mass is trying to provide a universal infra for anyone who want to build on top of the Web2 network and connect to Web3. For example, if you understand Lucky Drop, we did this thing together with MakerDAO. So if you want to send money on Twitter, we can do that, right? If you want to send NFT, we can do that. You want to do A, B, and C, we can do that. So that's something that's a lot of things we're doing these days. Yeah.
So during very early years, like Google, they did a search and they weren't sure how to monetize on like Google search. And later they found the ads model, and ads model become like the key monetization model for Web2 players. So I'm wondering for Web3 players, what would be the monetization model, possibly?
Yeah, I think for DeFi, they already proved that, right? They can just provide different interest rate and different stake interest for LPs, all different things. And for NFT, they'll prove that for the transaction fee. For Web3 in general, even ENS, they're trying to largely create the audience and try to gather less fee for the first place. But let's say you're gonna see 1 million people on ENS, right? 100 million people on Mask. It's super easy to gather to capture the value, and also the value are actually accumulated from, they're transformed and accumulated from the Web2 platform, right? You just start to buy ENS instead of buy other .com. They start to send more encrypted message and crypto over Mask instead of like maybe through PayPal. So that's the value. This value going to be transferred out, and eventually going to be a huge. I think going to be a huge thing. Yeah. That's going to be I think that's going to be the value capture process. Yeah.
According to the most recent data, there are 100 million users globally of cryptocurrency. And how many users of Web3 do you think are there now?
Wallets are, I think, up to 10 million MAU. Maybe if you minus the bots, probably a few million monthly active users. For Mask, we have like around 50K daily active user. We'll probably have more weekly active user. For now, we still beta testing our iOS and Android app, and I believe it's still quite early. But it's growing pretty interestingly. We were not really affected by token price. I think most of the DeFi protocols user are affected by the token price. Yeah, we want to just try to accumulate more user. Yeah.
What do you think will be the number of users in 5 years?
Hopefully, I think the Web3 user in 5 years gonna flip Twitter.
Oh wow!
Twitter. That's hopeful. That's my opinion. I think like within 5 to 10 years, it can happen. Yeah. Yeah. 5 years is already super long time, right? Because if we go back to 5 years ago, which is 2016 or 2017, which is probably just the early day of Ethereum, the early day of ICO, and you ask a random guy in the industry, hey, how many assets you believe going to be on the Ethereum blockchain? It's going to be larger than SHBC, JP Morgan, or going to be way smaller than these guys? I think most people would think, oh, okay, 5 years too short. You cannot achieve the AUM of those big banks. But what happened right now with the DeFi is it already almost achieved the AUM, the asset on the management of those big banks. And it's already eating up some of the Hollywood's most lucrative, treasuries, right? And in 5 years to 10 years, I think the Web3 social gonna flip the user of major social network. Maybe not the user number, but the core user can definitely flip them. Yeah.
So DeFi was a trigger for the user booming 2 years ago. What do you think would be the next trigger?
I think NFT already been triggering a lot of stuff right now. Like OpenSea is like crazy, and another thing we think gonna be a big trigger is probably DAO or Web3 social or SocialFi. And we actually invented terminology SocialFi back in last August. We had a SocialFi Alliance. We launched together with partners like Polygon, Suji. SocialFi is pretty important because social network is one of the large space we haven't conquered. We haven't even have cool experiments in the Web3. If you look off all the top 500 coins or top 200 protocols, top 100 protocols, and I think like, hey, social protocol, you probably only see 5 candidates, right, including Mask, and there's only maybe just 5 to 10 good projects out there, right? So it's really early, and I think that's going to be the next machine, next great innovations that are going to lead the growth of the Web3 space. But when that process is finished, the market cap is definitely 100x easily. You can bring much more larger audience into the space. Yeah.
There's a very famous picture saying that Web2 basically you connect with your Gmail or Facebook account, and Web3 you connect with your wallet. Do you agree with that? And what's your definition of Web3?
I think like connect with wallet is just like the fundamental thing, right? It's the first step, right? And I think like personally, I feel pretty bad right now is there's many claim to be SocialFi projects or claim to be Web3 projects. The only thing they did is connect with a wallet. I say, hey, connect with the MetaMask and then store our data on AWS, which is ridiculous, right? And which is like almost a scam to me. Say, hey, we are SocialFi, we're Web3, and all the things is still on server, but we just, we're logging with MetaMask. Cool, we're Web3. No, that's not Web3, right? And it's true. I think from the login process, from the account creation and user ID process, that image is true. That Web2 is Google logging, Apple logging. Web3 is wallet connect, MetaMask, Solana, all the chain login with in the end it's the public key and private key pair, cryptography key pairs. But also important to apply this method in every aspect in Web3 social. For example, when you compare a traditional block system to a Web3 block system, you're gonna ask like, hey, is the data stored on decentralized storage, right? So for example, Mira is using Arweave. Mask is also using both Arweave and Filecoin. We receive both support and investment and token swap from both sides. So that part is great. That is using decentralized social network, right? A decentralized file service. Then the next thing will be, hey, we're talking over Zoom. We're gonna have a podcast video. The video is pretty large. We can store that on decentralized storage, but we might need a CDN because otherwise it's gonna be really slow to download and upload. It's not able to use, right? And CDN, again, you're gonna see people ask, okay, this is on Cloudflare. Why is Web3? Cloudflare is it's a Web2 company, and pay them in credit card, they're gonna just provide a service, right? You're gonna keep asking the question until the necessary infrastructure is completely replaced by the Web3 infra. It's early now. It's probably impossible to do so now. But as the founder, or ask the engineer, you should have this method. It's, you sometimes you can start from the Web2 infrastructure just because the Web3 one are not ready, but you should able to replace them and get ready. You should just learn all these new updates and try to replace them as soon as possible. Otherwise, there's no difference. As I described, there's a lot of scam out there. Just logging, connect with your wallet, and then everything are on server. What's the difference, right? And I don't like that things. I like these things. I think they're going to just ruin the market. They already ruined some of the market right now. It's too early to say, but every founder and every engineer should keep in mind that some of the Web2 infra we are using it's just the transitional phase, of the Web3 infra Web3 technology. We're gonna replace them with, right? We need to make it clear. Yeah.
Previously, you mentioned that decentralization is very important. That's why our podcast is called the Decentralization. You also mentioned that it's now, if we upload this video on Filecoin or R-Wave, it's going to be very slow. And I think there's always a trade-off between speed and the decentralization.
You need to really think about like who's going to be your ideal user, right? Definitely you want to bring mass adoption, but I mean, freedom came with a price, right? If you say, hey, I want to lay at home and I get everything super convenient, which means that you are actually give out your right to be a free man in the society, in the cyberspace, right? You're saying, hey, you have robot, like you have AI manage your asset or whatever. That's not really a free man to you, right? So, it's kind of like what I feel right now. Like we should attract those people who are early, but they are also convicted to this ideology. I think, yeah, we're going to learn and grow with your product. And then gradually you're going to have the core people from the community, and these core people are going to affect the other core people. And gradually when the technology is ready, you're going to see 100x or 1000x growth in 1 year easily. That's what happened to DeFi and NFT. It pretty much going to happen to the Web3 social as well. And you describe the problem of decentralized storage. Yeah, it's the whole decentralized storage right now. It's just a tiny part of compared to AWS. But it's hard to say. It's hard to upload videos, but you can upload audios, right? Say there's Permacast on Arweave. There's many other projects trying to do the podcast decentralized version infrastructure. We can even in Intro5, we did invest like 1 or 2. We did help to collaborate with another 2 or 3, try to bring them together. So maybe in 1 or 2 year stream, when you guys do another podcast, you can upload that on Filecoin on Arweave and use a decentralized CDN to accelerate. Just buy some token from your MetaMask, and then you're gonna accelerate that thing very fast. And then you can put that something like that on Twitter with Mask. You can even do pay to unlock, pay me 10 ARC token. You can do social token to unlock my podcast. And that's going to be future. Right? That's going to be future, and we have to be patient and also be ready for this revolution. And all these convicted people, believers, can definitely help you in the community. When you design a product, when you deliver a product, you need to think out like, oh, okay, do you want to let everyone happy, or just be ready for the upcoming growth and revolution, but just let the core people help you and build together with you. Yeah, that's different ideology.
You mentioned that maybe in the future people can pay token to watch this podcast. So my next question is about tokenomics. And what's your idea about how to incentivize builders?
From DeFi and GameFi, tokenomics is one of the important things. And unfortunately, honestly, Web3 projects, a lot of them don't really have good tokenomics, right? Like they're just a DAO governance token. It's way early to design the tokenomics of these projects, but I think it's definitely going to come very soon that people need to design tokenomics for all the projects. And it's probably, I think in my opinion, probably in 1 or 2 years, you're going to see the community help design the tokenomics of famous styles. This server process. They're gonna just say, hey, we should copy paste that one from that GameFi protocols and copy that into a SocialFi protocol, and the DAO holder agree on that. that's probably going to come true very soon. Yeah.
And do you have any thoughts of how Musk is going to design its tokenomics?
Yeah. So for now, mass DAO and mass token is only for the governance, right? We have several governance experiments, including the ITO committee, including the voting, including several other voting process of our DAO token. I think in the end, we're gonna focus. For now, we're gonna focus more on the developers, which are required to have mass token to build on top of mask. It's like you're gonna burn Ethereum for the ETH gas fee. But later on, the general user are going to be important as well. For now, it's still quite small community. And we're trying to be incentive on the user activities in the social network, which none of the other projects have tried before. Most of them tried, but they failed. We try to incentive users' activity on Web2, not really say Web3, right? Web2 social network, but Web3 activities. That's something we're designing right now. Musk can also come to Instagram, many other social networks, try to see what's going on these platforms. Yeah.
For governance token, I feel like the majority of people, they are just lazy. They want to be a passive investor and they are not going to vote or, actively participate in the governance. What's your view?
Honestly, it's really early right now. It's say, hey, like governance, many people want they only care about airdrop. I was surprised because I was early member of Coin DAO. I got a pretty large airdrop and still governance, helping a lot in the governance process. I'm really surprised at how developers are involved into the governance. Most of the speculators, they don't really care. Yeah, it's still a lot to go. I think that's why we're trying to attract developer at the first space, first step, and they're going to build something on top. Yeah. And governance is one of the things that people are definitely care about. Yeah. And definitely gonna eventually how they step into the Web3. For now, it's mostly only about token economy, about airdrops, about all these things, about incentives. It's not really about how you elect the leader. Yeah.
You are based in Asia and you know a lot about Japan and China. Would you like to share with us what's the regulation landscape there?
If you think about Asian country, it's both like frightening and amazing. Frightening is like people, the regulators, definitely aware of this thing is happening and it's unstoppable, and they're trying to do something to stop it, right? No matter in mainland China or many other like space with relatively tough regulation. But also on the other side, there's no real best practice to really regulate every innovation in the space. It's just too fast. One more thing, one major difference is the Web3 hopefully is trying to build the cyber governance over top of the existing nation state, superseding the nation state. That's also frightening to many state government. So that's the reason I think why they overreact or react so toughly over this space. But in the end, it's like internet, or it's larger than internet. It's not going to be. It's probably going to have different version of the internet, different geo version of different part of the internet, but it's still going to be the same internet connect to each other. Hopefully, that thing can also happen on blockchain in crypto in next 10 years. I think it's probably even earlier than that. Yeah.
What Web3 would look like in the long term?
As I say, there's going to be a cyber capitalism, and it's going to start from the early cyber capitalism and ends up probably like the cyber democratic socialism. That's probably the era of Web3. It's going to take many effort, but won't take too long.